Are you ready to see massive pyramids in China? Pyramids that were built by the previous civilization and are now just being called hills. Are you ready to uncover something massive today? Here we go. We have been taught that the pyramids in Egypt were very rare. These pyramids in Egypt were an anomaly. Well, throughout the first 78 episodes, we have found that there's a pyramid right outside of St. Louis that has a temple 2 feet under its base. We have found that there is so much underneath the ground, including catacombs and tunnel systems, that is yet to be exposed. And now today, we are finding that people have just been living in a town called Anlong, located in China, with possibly hundreds of pyramids sitting all around them for all this time. In an article published on May 15th, 2024 by English.news.cn titled Pyramid-Shaped Hills Become Popular Tourist Site in Southwest China. The article starts off saying that we are looking at several hills that resemble the pyramids of Egypt in a suburb county in China, when it goes on to say that the hills are made of parallel layers of stone, where we know that these are no longer hills. We don't need the experts' help. We've got this one covered. Parallel layered stone walls. When you can see that there is not just one, we are dealing with something massive, uncovering something that would completely change everything about what we have been told. I told you all that we're just getting started, and that is because all of our eyes are now open. We are seeing it all now. Everything that was just hiding right in front of all of our faces, somehow, right in our towns, will now be brought to light. 99% of us were under some sort of trance. For some reason, we were all unable to see these types of things all over the world. Buildings that don't belong in our timeline at all. Walking or driving right past them every single day. But now that we have the knowledge, we can now see what is right in front of us. And the trick no longer works, which is why everyone in the world now needs to see this information so that they don't live in a town with hundreds of pyramids right next to their local coffee shop and think that old world pyramids are just hills, like we've all been told. At this point in time, I feel like we are being shown the truth. At no other point in our timeline has this information, the truth, been flying at us at this speed. When we are finished, no pyramid will be unexplored. Nobody is going to think that these are just hills. We all understand that if we were just told that these were pyramids and not hills, that it would show that the mainstream history that we've all been told is not the full picture. In fact, it would show that the narrative is possibly 100% fabricated or very close to it, showing that they've been saying that pyramids have been hills for so long, and now changing their mind would let doubt creep in, and people would start asking questions like we are today as to what else could be a pyramid. What other hill just has a temple laying underneath it? This is exactly what we're asking. This would all show that the mainstream did not include the previous civilization into their narrative. A civilization that built all of the pyramids, all of the buildings. They had incredible technology, and they were not here as far back as we all thought. A civilization that was capable of constructing not just one pyramid, but hundreds of pyramids all over the world. And that tools have been here, advanced technology and the rest. This lie would be completely exposed. Now, as you can see, something happened and is now triggering the release of this information. All of these articles, all of these companies are now writing about these hills that have supposedly been there the entire time. Why now? Have they always been there? Of course they have. We have all just gone from VCR straight to 4K, a shift in consciousness, or you can call it an upgrade, now allowing us to see things that are in this realm that we all live, which means that these now need to be explained now that we can see them, which is exactly what they're doing. Where in an article written by the Global Times, they don't even give us a person. They just tell us that the Chinese media outlet, Eyes News, they found their guy. a professor that would back their story up, saying that the mountains were, of course, natural happenings, which is why they have their pyramid-like shape. When he was asked, why do these natural happenings have parallel layered stone? He replied that they date back 200 million years to the early to the middle Triassic ages. Pinning this date down, 200 million years. Right. 200 million years ago, the early to the middle Triassic ages. This guy is just amazing. So the professor is just on it. He is the guy that should be fully trusted. Pinning this date down in his dreams. Where does he even come up with a number like this? 200 million years ago. Why didn't he just say 150 million years ago? Why not 800 million years ago while you're at it? I'm going to be very clear. This so-called professor has zero clue about what happened 200 million years ago. In fact, we don't even know if there was a 200 million years ago. It's very possible that never happened. These articles, these dates, are not fooling anyone anymore. Just throwing nonsense out there, pretending to know all about the year negative 200 million and one, or negative 200 million and two. It's ridiculous. All because we asked a professor who studied their books. This is no longer classified as factual information. If it looks like a pyramid, it has parallel stones laid over and over and over, exactly like we have seen in Egypt, then we will start at that conclusion and work from there. We are not going to research from the standpoint of guessing about 200 million years ago. From that point of view, you will find nothing. You will go to sleep, wake up, look at the pyramid and think it's all because a T-Rex decided to take a crap there and think it's a hill, exactly like they like it. And to show that we are all just getting started, staying in China, and a documented U.S. Air Force pilot's account of what he saw in 1945, saying that he was flying between India and China when he saw a pyramid that would put Gizas to shame. Pure white on all sides. And then 2 years later, Colonel Maurice reports the exact same experience. And the New York Times runs his story. This tells me that China has some pyramids that we definitely haven't been told about, and we need to investigate further. So these accounts, we now know, took place in a province of northwestern China, where we know that they have nearly 40 known pyramids in this location, where they are covered with trees and grass. So what is this group hiding from us? Why cover up hundreds of pyramids and tell us they are just dirt from 200 million years ago? Why do this? Again, it would change everything. It would show us that there was an extremely advanced civilization that was here very close to our timeline, most likely wiped out by an event. And they were able to construct pyramids all over the world, over and over and over, which is why they have to call them hills, because this would blow 99% of people's minds today. Are these naturally forming? Do you need the professor's help? I don't think you do. I personally think that people used to like that comfort of thinking that the professors could figure it all out. Where that's all changed now. We no longer need somebody's help, someone that has read all of their indoctrinated books and has sat up nicely in their seat in the front row. We don't need this guy to tell us about 200 million years ago. We definitely don't need that type of thought process anymore. We understand that there is a much more likely possibility sitting on the table of how all of these structures all over the world were created and why they are here today. Places that you can go and see all for yourself. You can go inside most of them. Basilicas, cathedrals, temples, caves, or melted structures. And of course, pyramids. It's incredible, all over the world. And it's not because a little rain came down and splashed the dirt off the ground and created a perfect pyramid. There isn't a single naturally forming pyramid in the whole world. Nature doesn't form 90-degree angles. It does not form pyramids that have perfect parallel stonework. We all understand this now. We are seeing right through the nonsense. And it no longer takes us all months to process this. Thousands of us. We get it now right when we see it. We are told that the Chinese pyramids of that region are built of mud and dirt and are more like mounds than the Pyramid of Egypt. This was reported by the Science newsletter in 1947. But of course, the region is little traveled. So let me know in the comments if you think these things are really made of mud and dirt, or if they are just covered by it and something massive is hiding underneath. When Western archaeologists have, to this day, rarely been permitted to investigate the sites, overgrown by shrubs and abandoned at first glance, going on to say that the shrubs are clearly deliberately planted, planting many cypress, one of the fastest growing trees out there, hiding this right in front of our faces for years. Until now. Now I'm going to go to Google Earth. I'm going to show you that you can't even drop the guy down and look at these places. Right outside of the city, we have multiple pyramids right here, covered by trees, unexplained by the mainstream narrative. These are pyramids of the previous civilization, in my opinion, that are still here today. We have another one over here, all around the same city. We're not traveling thousands of miles, just like we saw in Anlong to start this episode off. They're all over the place. Here's another one. And then we have this one over to the left, and another one over here to the right. We have two more over here. So are you understanding how the narrative has been manipulated? How it's not just information that has been suppressed. It's also massive pyramids. And then we have these two, where if we change the angle here, you can see that there is a circle here that seems to have significance, leading straight to this pyramid, where it has the crosshairs right here, with a bunch of trees to try to cover it up. It's very strange. And you can even see the door opening that was once here, or possibly still is. And you can see how close it is to the other pyramids. I've got a question. Why does this massive pyramid not have a name or a story? Giving this pyramid a name or a story would change everything. It would be an admission that what we have been told is a massive lie. They would have to explain why they've been covering this thing up with trees and dirt. Could you imagine living here? These people live here, next to two pyramids, and the pyramids have no name and no story. Just a bunch of trees and dirt covering them up. No, those aren't pyramids. Those are just dirt mounds, of course. And everybody agrees, all because a professor went to his room one night and said, it's from 200 million years ago. This is insane. So I want to go back to Anlong, China, where we have cave openings. We've seen that cave openings are, in my opinion, just front entrances to a bigger overall structure. We have this ridiculous name, where we have seen them name things like this and mock us all over the world. So we have this cave, and then we have this cave over here. Again, these are entrances to the pyramid that we have shown at the beginning of this episode. We are not allowed to drop this guy down on Google Earth, which should be very telling, not allowing us to see what's going on there. There are 0 articles about these places. We are simply being blocked off from our true past. So we remember that the professor said that these were naturally forming hills from 200 million years ago. Well, we know that they are stone, and we know that they have caves. How are they going to explain the caves to us? Oh, in the second half of 133 million years ago, the water level spiked for 40 years, and the current chiseled out the stone hill accidentally. And what do you know? Now there's a cave. It's weird how nature works back in the day. There are so many structures that need to be explored. Structures that are brushed off as hills from millions of years ago, accidentally brushed into by a rhinoceros from millions of years ago. Not just in China, but all over the world. We can go to Utah, USA, more specifically, Wayne County, where we are told that there is a pyramid that was formed during the Jurassic period. So, if they find a pyramid, they chalk it up to the dinosaurs. Can you believe this? Or they just cover it up with trees and dirt and pretend like it's not even there at all. And don't say anything about it and act like we shouldn't see it either. But if they find a cave in India while on a tiger hunt, like we just saw in episode 73, then they can pin an exact date on it somehow and explain the whole thing away. We are told that this thing is composed of sandstone that formed 180 million years ago, give or take a few hours. They took samples home and tested it. Just trust them. They know all about the year negative 180 million. In fact, they know all about the year negative 181 million as well. It is pretty cool being a certified scholar. You just get to make up any date you'd like. 180 million years ago, on the dot. Amazing. These experts help us a lot, telling us that because it's in a hot, dry climate for the last 180 million years. So we have steady climates for 180 million years. Nice to know for those that are in Utah. You can enjoy that climate for years to come. So 180 million years of hot, dry climate. Wind blowing over sand dunes, creating large sweeping crossbeds, dating all the way back to the Jurassic ages. Wow. Incredible how they know all of this. I think the local spider was documenting all this and hid it underneath some of the sand. It's incredible. Long after the sedimentary rocks were deposited, the Colorado Plateau was uplifted relatively even. It's just amazing. Keeping the layers roughly horizontal. They have all of this on camera. It's documented in the Colorado Scrolls. No, it's not. But the Capitol Reef was an exception, of course, because of the water pocket fold, which formed between 50 and 70 million years ago. You know, somewhere between then, give or take. Not 40 million and not 80 million. A much more obvious answer to this is that it is a structure that 100% looks melted. It is not from 70 million years ago. It is from the previous civilization, with an elevation of 6,211 feet. This was a massive structure that proves how incredible this previous civilization really was. And right next to this structure, we have an arch. It's called the Cassidy Arch, that the mainstream will tell you that the local Bronchiosaurus used as a hangout spot, running away from the T-Rex, where they know that the Bronchiosaurus was a peaceful animal. They were there and know all about the year negative 150 million. No, they don't. Not even close. Now, we have some incredible pictures of this place. Is this not a tree that is now turned into stone? It's just incredible. You can see that an event took place and has completely melted this place. And you can see just how big things were before. We have some other angles of this melted palace. And then we have this shot. You can see that the front of this place was cut perfectly. This is not natural at all. Perfect 90-degree angles and arches into stone is not a natural occurrence, especially when right next to this melted structure, right next to Cassidy Arch, we have Hickman Natural Bridge, where they're telling us that nature just forms stone bridges now too. They're telling us nature forms pyramids, arches, and bridges, all here accidentally during the Jurassic period. This is what we have been told. Can you believe this? I really hope you all can see after this how crazy the narrative is. We have more perfectly formed arches that they just haven't got around to naming yet. Clearly an opening to another structure right here. And if this picture doesn't get you, then I'm not sure what will. In my opinion, this is clearly a structure from the old world that was built and has since been melted. This was not from sandstone blowing in the wind 150 million years ago. It's not even close to that. There are so many of these arches. This place must have been incredible. This is the complete opposite of naturally forming. We have these structures with even more arches over here. You can see how big they are too, compared to the people standing below. And up here, they look like they used to be windows. This is definitely a place I'd love to visit and see if there are any openings with a few more photos to show that this is not naturally forming, to show that this place has a much deeper history, a much more meaningful history than what we have all been told, where we are all here to learn and grow, and we are no longer being held back from doing that. We are finding more and more evidence every single week that our true past is so much more exciting and entertaining than what we have been told and what we have been shown in our classrooms. We are seeing structures that have arches, windows, doorways, bridges, pyramids that have been hiding under trees and still are, but they are now being discovered by thousands of people. Locations named Cathedral Valley. Are we being told what these structures used to be? Are these melted cathedrals? And I want you all to remember this location in Utah because things are about to get very interesting.